Okay, so you need that, after we're done here, you're gonna need that yellow handout right back there. So when it comes to insurance, we've got tenant insurance, or we have home insurance. So today we're gonna talk about home insurance. So go to 43. I should probably correct the tenant insurance questions first before I jump into home insurance. So we're gonna skip a few pages. So let's go to 47. Page 47 is where we had our tenant insurance. And have one of those yellow ones. If you don't have one, come up front here, grab one, or send someone. When you open this yellow or this handout, it could be pink. Sometimes it's a pink copy that I have. This is your tenant insurance table, and the home insurance is going to be a bit crazier. That one right there, but don't worry about it too much. We'll narrow it down. Okay. So for tenant insurance, what's the cost to insure an apartment for $65,000? Comprehensive. So you want the dollar amount. You want to know, is it standard or comprehensive? And you need to know what the deductible is. It's $200 deductible. This is on page 47. So for tenant insurance, $75,000 is the max, after which we need to do some extra calculations here. But $65,000 gets me to there. I don't want standard, I want comprehensive, so $400 is the number that I copy. Okay, so if you imagine that long, ugly formula, this would be the 400 that you must choose, right? 400 so far. And we don't go over, so in this case, everything in that square bracket reduces to just this, 400. Do I need to multiply by 1.10? I don't know if you remember from yesterday. Yes, you have to, because it's a $200 deductible. Okay, so in this case, you just go 400 times 1.1 or 1.10. So your premium is going to be $440 per year. These are always yearly amounts. Okay, they allow you to pay it monthly, but we calculate the yearly amount. So that's how this one would boil down to. There's a mark. You would get a mark for the 400, and you would get a mark for adding 10% to it. So this would be a 2-mark question most likely. Okay. So this one is from the table. You got that from the table. Right? And this one is for the $200 deductible. Okay? So if you want the $200 deductible, you're going to pay more on your premium because you're paying less out of pocket when you make a claim. They get you one way or the other. That's basically what they're trying to say. They'll get you one way or the other. What's the annual cost to insure an apartment for $80,000? Standard form. So $80,000 is the coverage. We want standard, and it's a $200 deductible. I'm going to write out my formula one more time here. It's a table plus how much you're over by, and that's going to be multiplied by a dollar amount divided by 1,000. This is also coming from the table, right? And all of that gets multiplied by 1.10 potentially. You know what? Can I make an addition to your formula? I will. Here you can say, but then it doesn't work for both cases. It's over whatever the max is. So for tenant insurance, the max is $75,000. So I will do a little bit of calculation on the side here just to show what I've done. That is the max on the table. You can see that, right? Okay. You subtract your $5,000 over. over the absolute max that is on the table. So here we go. You grab your table, you go to standard, so you're gonna max out to 75,000, you go to standard, look up here, you're gonna have to pick the 359 and the 450, remember both of those, okay? So I grab that with me, 359 plus, I'm over by 5,000, and I pay 450 for every $1,000 of extra insurance that I need. Yeah. So if I may highlight, this is from the table, and this is also from the table. This is from the table, also from the table. And if you want to make, right, your $5,000 over $75,000. Your $5,000 over and above the $75,000 max. That's why I came up with the 5,000 there. And I like colors because when you flip through your notes, right, this 5,000, I calculated that on the side here. And now it's time to clean this mess up, right? So what I will do is, I'll tell you right off the bat, you go 359, you copy this number down, plus do this separately. So you will divide here and multiply it by 5,000. So you pay an extra $22.50. It's not a whole lot. All of that times 1.10. The next step is to add, right? You add these two up. So that will be, I'll just use my calculator. I still have 2250 on there, so I'm going to go plus 359. That's 381.50. And that gets multiplied by 1.10. So this would be a $500 deductible policy, but because I want that 200, I need to multiply by 1.10. So I go times 1.10. That's $419.65. I'm not sure if you did your homework or not. So if you didn't do it, then this is the time where you do it. If you are done, then just sit back and relax. I'm going to give people a couple minutes to do number 3. I will give you what the answer is supposed to be so you can check whether or not you got it right. Give me a moment. It's supposed to be $701.50. Give it a try. You're over 75,000 for sure. One more tenant insurance before we go home insurance. You're insuring an apartment. We're assuming that we're renting, okay? So it's 120,000 comprehensive, and a $500 deductible. So if we use our formula, we are over. We know we're over, so we can actually do this on the side. I'm trying to find creative ways to help you out. I'm going to try this. 1 second. Maybe if you do insurance, let's go find that table rate. Because we're tenant and it's comprehensive. Comprehensive, we max out right here at 454. Remember the 550. Okay. So you go 454 plus, and here I'm gonna do this, 120 minus 75,000. Right, and that's how this, that's where I'm gonna get this number here. What are we at, 45,000? 45,000 times 550 per $1,000. So I don't know, just, there we go. And then do we need to multiply by 1.10? We do not. Okay, we do not, because you want the $500 deductible. Deductible. So you can omit this step. You don't need it. Okay, so it's 454 plus, I'm just going to do the math on the side here, 247.50, and that gives you 701.50. Okay, so there we go. That's how you do tenant insurance. So we're gonna kind of stop there and go back to home insurance now. Okay, so please go with me to page 44. 44, I have the table for home insurance. And it looks scary at first, but in Manitoba, there's four main areas that they kind of decide to give insurance to. So think about it this way, if you look up here for 1 second, earlier we just had a table like that. There was just standard comprehensive and the dollar amounts, right? Now we have Metro Winnipeg, Area 2, Area 3, Area 4. So there's, including Winnipeg, there's 4 different areas. We still have a $500 deductible by default. And every area has a standard and a comprehensive rate. Every area has its own. Okay, so that's something to remember. So what you need to take into account that you must take one from here. I'm going to highlight this. So your job is like you have to grab a number from this area. Okay. Did I use orange for this on the previous one? Yes, I did. So I'm going to, it's good. So I will say must choose from here. You must choose one. Does that work? I'm going to try highlighting it. You must choose one from this orange. If you can't read that, just put it on the margin here, on the side of that table. Just tell yourself, just like before, I have to pick a number from that table, guaranteed. And then the being over, what's the maximum here for this one? For a house insurance. There's the max right here. At the bottom left here, I'm saying that that's my max on the table, 200,000. And then the bottom here, I will give it a green color, right? That is maybe. That is a maybe if you're over. What did I? So I'll just say overage amount. Overage amounts. And last but not least, just like before, if you don't want a $500 deductible, you're not happy with the rates on the table, you're just going to do that one additional step. It's way at the bottom here. I'm giving it a pink color. You add the 10% just like before. So the only thing that's new here, guys, is the max is 200,000. And that there are areas, 4 areas. Now this I need you to know. I'm going to add that later on when we talk about it a bit more. I'm going to first get you to do the math. The areas have to do with how close your house is to emergency services. Remember this, guys. I'll say it one more time. The area depends on how close you are to emergency services. So like a fire hall or like a ambulance station, but primarily fire hall, or if there's a fire hydrant close by. Because if you're living further outside and your house catches fire, a lot of areas have volunteer firefighters. What is a volunteer firefighter? I can't be a volunteer firefighter, but you could have just a regular construction job and your phone rings and it says like, oh, there's a fire on such and such street, you accept the call, and then you go home, you change, then you go to the fire hall, and when there's enough people in the fire hall, then they go out to the fire. By that time, your house is, most of the time, it's already gone. They just come to like control the fire so it doesn't spread to your neighbors or something like that, right? So if the insurance companies know that in the event of a fire, your house is going to be a total write-off, then they'll charge you more, okay? Because they want their money, right? They don't want to they don't want to pay out more than what they take in. That's basically how insurance works, okay? Life insurance, the same thing. So that's what the areas have to do with how close you are to emergency services. Let's keep going. Calculating insurance for homeowners. This formula is exactly the same, so I'm not going to ask you to copy this onto your study sheet again. It's identical. But the overage is going to be whatever you're over 200,000, okay? And everything else stays the same. Can I just, sorry, I'm jumping back and forth. I know that. I'm trying to minimize the amount of talking that I'm doing. Believe it or not, I'm trying. Home insurance is different than tenant insurance. How? Home insurance covers your stuff and the building. Tenant insurance only covers your stuff. That's the main difference. That's why home insurance is a lot more, right? You pay way more because it's going to cost them a lot of money to replace your house. Okay, let's try an example right here. This is on page 46. Brent owns a house in Metro Winnipeg. Whether it says Winnipeg or Metro Winnipeg, we mean Winnipeg and it's Metro Winnipeg, okay? $175,000 is the coverage. You want a comprehensive policy. You don't want the basic, you want comprehensive. I would always suggest go comprehensive. And you want a $200 deductible. What is the annual premium? I hope that by now you know what $200 deductible means. It means multiply by 1.10 at one point at the end, at the very end. Okay? So let's use our formula. Insurance. You go get the table rate, because that gives you a full mark if you do this correctly. So we grab our table. We go to this one here, this one right here. I'm going to zoom to Metro Winnipeg. So you narrow it down. You're in Metro Winnipeg. You are under comprehensive. What is the coverage I need? 175, right? So let's go down all the way to 175,000 right here. So if you go 175, matches comprehensive, it's 668. You can circle if you want, that's fine. 668. I'm just gonna double check. Yeah. So it's 668. I'm gonna do this part just because I want you to look back. Which part can we scrap in this case? The overage, because you're not over, you can cross this out. Not over max, which is $200,000. So omit that. Okay. So essentially, this question turns out to be $668. Multiply that by 1.10. That is $734.80. Please don't forget to go 80 when it's dollars. You need to have the 80 cents there. Sorry, folks at the back. I'm going to try to fix my resolution for next time. I don't know what happened. I'm going to try to make it bigger again. So that's the one, that's for this case. Let's do another one here, and then you'll practice with a couple, and then we'll finish off with the AC, okay? Example 3, Jill owns a house, so we know it's home insurance in Pine Falls and is within 8 miles of a fire hydrant. It used to be that you would have to tell me what area this is. When it says within 8 miles of a fire hydrant, that was area 3. You don't have to worry about that anymore. They will just tell you what the area is. But I thought I'd leave it in there. You want $225,000 of insurance, standard policy, $500 deductible. So I'm gonna right away go like this, minus 200,000. That is the max. So I'm $25,000 over. It just worked out, yeah. Let's finish this. And then we'll use our insurance formula. Insurance. Go grab a number from the table because that's worth a full mark. We are in area 3 under standard policy. So area 3 standard, I max out to 200,000. So I'm going to go all the way down to 726. I'm going to grab that number, and I'm going to grab that number as well because I'm going to have to pay extra. So both of those come with us. 726 plus, I'm going to use a red pen for the over part, just stands out more. $25,000 of extra insurance I need to purchase. And it was $355, $3.55 for every additional $1,000 of insurance I need. Do I need to multiply this by 1.10? I don't. If this throws you off, just don't copy down the part that I cross out. Like if that, I just like to have that there because $500, right? Because this would be for a $200 deductible. That's when this step is necessary, but it's not. So cross it out. Clean it up. 726 plus. Let's figure out what that is. That's $88.75. Let's add that up. That's $814.75. That's it. Never add taxes. Please never go times 1.12. Just don't do it. Okay. Can I just talk about taxes briefly? You should never see this. So let's say you go $5,000 for a car and you go times 1.07 and you take all of this and go times 1.12. This is a big no-no. If you add 7% taxes and then go ahead and add 12% taxes to that subtotal, you're double taxing. It's either only 7% or it's only 5% or it's both. But here you're actually doing PST and then PST and GST. Again, you're double taxing. So you should never see this when you do vehicle finance in particular for that. That's a vehicle finance specific, okay? Can you go to 48 and try those 3 questions there? You can keep going, but I'm gonna say 48 is like a bare minimum. I'll give you the answers to the first, to 4 and there are the answers.